that's all I'm going to play that. That's the beginning of a song that was by a band called Faith No More called The Morning After. And I got a little story about this song. And Billy Gould, the bass player for Faith No More, was a big influence on me. And he had I've got an approximation of his sound. He had distortion on his sound pretty much all the time. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, he played an Aria Pro 2 bass, which are actually the local music store in the town I grew up near carried those basses. I think Cliff Burton also played those basses as well in the 80s. But that song was a song that was a struggle for me as a beginning player. And the reason for that I grew up in a rural area, and we didn't have cable TV. And the only time that I ever saw Faith No More play, actually it was two separate times. One was on Saturday Night Live, Faith No More played. And the second time was at a friend's house. I saw the Epic video on MTV. But based on those two things, I assumed falsely that Billy Gould was a fingers-only player. And in fact, with the song Epic, which is another E riff that he had, that he did play with his thumb on that. And that's, on Saturday Night Live, they did that song. And I thought, well, that's the way he plays everything, is with his thumb. And I really liked, at that time, I learned every song on that album. And I really liked that song, The Morning After. And I really struggled with it because of this part in the song where he goes, that's what I assumed he was doing. That's what it sounded like on the album, that he was popping twice. And at that time, I of course I didn't have anybody to show me how to do that. So I just came up with this technique of using two fingers to pop with. And the tough part of doing that is it's, at least for me, is I'm not 100% successful every time. I'll do it 100 times in a row, and then I won't be able to get both pops in. I'll get hung up on one of my fingers. But the reason I bring this up is because I thought that's the way he played it. I learned this technique, right? At that time I thought I was just copying what he was doing. But later on, I think it must have been probably around 1995 or 96. I got to see Faith No More on the, what was it? I can't remember the album. Fool for a Day, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, I think was the name of the album. So I got to see him on tour, and I got to see them play that song, and this is what I saw him doing. He was playing the song with a pick. And I said, oh, that's what he's doing. And as I listen to the song now, it's like I can really hear that is a pick. He's not slapping and popping. He's playing the song with a pick. But I didn't realize he even played with a pick. And then when I saw them play live, he primarily played with a pick. But the thing that I guess I wanted to bring up in this video is because I learned by ear, and I had no idea, I learned his parts by ear, and I had no idea he was a pick player, I made myself learn different techniques to try to emulate the sound he had. And the two things I did was, one is I learned how to slap and pop, and I learned that double pop, because I thought that's what he's doing. And the second thing I did was I learned how to have a really hard right hand attack. And I would play, and if I played in a rock band today, I would probably still play this way. but I would drive the string into the fretboard, almost like slapping, in order to get a very percussive kind of sound, kind of a pick type of sound, versus they sound similar, and that's just because I'm driving the string into the fretboard, just like as if I was slapping and popping. So the reason I bring up all of this is a lot of times whenever we want to learn a song, the first thing we do is we go straight to YouTube and we try to find a version of somebody playing that song. And I don't do that. And I think there's a valuable skill that's lost when that's all you do. There's an art to learning songs by ear. And if you I can tell you from my own experience, I got a lot of gigs because I could learn songs by ear really fast. And 4 or 5 times I would fill in for different bands that I wasn't, one instance the bass player broke his arm and it was an original band and I had to learn all of their songs and I had about a week to do that. In other situations, more often than not, the bass player in a band would quit and they would need somebody to fill in until they got a permanent replacement. And I was that guy a lot of times. I played with a lot of different bands for a few months until they found a permanent replacement. And the reason I could do that was just because I had learned so many songs by ear. It was a skill I developed. And the way I did that was, first I would learn whole albums by ear. I would just, back in those days, I used a record player. So I would try to, if I had a 45 of the record, I'd slow it down because there was really no other way of doing it. I remember doing that with, I had a 45 of White Room by Cream. And I think the B-side was whatever this song is. Whatever that song is, I can't think of I think it's called Badge. I learned that bass line off the 45. And then I would just turn on the radio sometimes. And I'll still do this today. It actually drives my wife nuts. But I would turn on the radio and figure out every song that came on the radio. But just every song. I would just sit down and figure out how to play every song. And now, my wife will listen to some music and I just can't help but sit here and figure out the songs as they come on. And, it's probably amusing for the first few songs, but I know after a little bit she gets annoyed with it. So, and I understand that. My kids definitely, it drives them crazy too, but it's a good skill to have, to be able to listen to something and to be able to learn songs quickly by ear. And the one thing, the more songs you learn, and I don't know how many songs I know, I probably know way over 1,000 songs. The more songs you learn, you start hearing patterns in songs because, you think about it, a song in a certain key, there's only so many places it can go. There's only 7 different places it can go, especially if we're talking about a pop, a rock song, a country song. There's certain patterns and you pick up on those and you hear them all the time. And as soon as you hear that pattern, it's like, I just got to figure out which key it's in and I'll know how to play that whole part of the song. So I put this out there just to encourage you to develop your ear. Learn how to figure songs out. When you want to learn how to play something, don't immediately try to find a YouTube video on how to play a song. Go out there and find the audio of the song and figure the song out. And that will help you as a player more than just copying, somebody who's already figured the song out. So that's it for today. Hope that helps. Bye.